Very good morning, students. In the previous class, we have completed the module 2 and also done some of the problems on impact of jets. Hope you have done well in the second test. So we will continue to the next module, that is laminar and turbulent flow. The syllabus of this module is as follows. In this module, we are going to learn Reynolds number, entrance flow, developed flow, Navier-Stokes equation, laminar flow between parallel plates, Poiseuille equation, velocity flow, covered flow, fully developed laminar flow in circular pipe, Hagen-Poiseuille equation, and the related numericals. Also, we are going to study energy consideration in pipe flow, loss of pressure head due to the fluid friction, Darcy-Weisbach formula, major and minor losses, and commercial pipes, Colebrook equation, Moody equation, pipes in series and parallel arrangement, and equivalent pipe, related numericals and simple pipe design problems. So, we first learn what is laminar and turbulent flow. Flow based on the Reynolds number is mainly classified into two types, that is laminar and turbulent flow. So laminar flow, in general, we have studied in such a way that the definition, when the fluid particles moves in a defined manner, that is called as laminar flow, and the fluid slides over the adjacent layer. Here, due to relative velocity between two layers, velocity gradient du by dy exists, and hence shear stress tau is equal to mu into du by dy. So this acts on the layers. Laminar flow is possible only at low velocities when the fluid is highly viscous, or in other words, laminar flow is one in which the fluid moves in layers or laminas. One layer slides over the another adjacent layer is called as laminar flow. There is one law, that is Newton's law, that relates shear stress, velocity gradient, and viscosity. The viscous forces play a relatively prominent role in the fluid motion, and small disturbance that is produced quickly damped out of viscous shear force. But when the velocity is increased or fluid is less viscous, the fluid particles do not move in straight lines. So these are the things which happens, that is velocity when it is increased, and fluid viscosity which is less, and fluid particles which do not move in straight line causes the deviation from the laminar flow to the turbulent flow. When the fluid particles move in a random manner, mixing of the particles, this type of flow is called as turbulent flow. Now there was one scientist, Observe Reynolds, O. Reynolds, in the period of 1842 to 1912. He is a prominent Irish innovator, did an experiment over a century ago to verify the existence of laminar, transitional, and turbulent flow regimes by injecting some dye streaks into the flow in a glass pipe. What he has done, he has first demonstrated that the laminar to turbulent flow transition depends only on the mean velocity on the quantity rho Vd by mu. This rho Vd by mu is known as Reynolds number. This is already we have studied. It is a dimensionless number. If this value is less than 2000, then it is called as laminar flow. If the value is more than 4000, it is called as turbulent flow. If Reynolds number lies between 2000 to 4000, then the flow changes from Reynolds laminar to the turbulent. The laminar flow characterized by smooth streamlines and highly ordered motion of particles, and turbulent flow is characterized by velocity fluctuations and highly disordered motion. The transition from laminar to turbulent flow does not occur suddenly. Rather, it occurs over some region in which the flow fluctuates between laminar to turbulent flow before it comes completely turbulent. Most of the flows encountered in the practice are turbulent. Laminar flow is encountered only when high viscosity fluids such as oils in a small pipe or a narrow passage passes. There is some conditions where laminar flow changes to turbulent. So these are the situation. Velocity of flow is increased, diameter of the pipe is increased, velocity of the fluid is decreased. That is, we know that rho V d by mu is nothing but Reynolds number. If velocity increases, diameter increases, or viscosity decreases, then this quantity increases. This is Reynolds number. If it goes beyond 2000, then it is transition. If it goes beyond 4000, then it is turbulent flow. There are some major differences between laminar and turbulent flow. So these differences are as follows. In the laminar flow, the fluid moves in layers parallel to each other, and fluid particles moves in straight line. Whereas in the turbulent flow, there is a zigzag movement, and fluid flow in which the fluid layers cross each other. In the laminar flow, it occurs with a low velocity. In the turbulent flow, it occurs with a high velocity. In the laminar flow, it is possible in small diameter pipes in which the fluid flows with a relatively low velocity. In turbulent flow, it occurs with large diameter pipes in which the fluid flow with a high velocity. The fluid flow is laminar when the value of Reynolds number is less than 2000. The fluid flow is turbulent when the value of Reynolds number is greater than 4000. Shear stress in a laminar flow depends only on the viscosity of the fluid and depends upon the density, whereas shear stress in the turbulent flow depends upon the density of the fluid. The last one is the fluid flow is very orderly. There is no mixing of adjacent layers of the fluid, and they move parallel to each other, also with the walls of the pipe. Here, the fluid flow is not orderly. There is a mixing of adjacent layers of the fluid with each other, and they do not move parallel to each other, and also with the walls of the pipe. Next, we will move on to the Reynolds experiment. Here, the type of the flow is determined from Reynolds number, that is rho Vd by mu. This is demonstrated by O. Reynolds in the 1883. His apparatus is shown in the following figure. You can see there is a die and a die container which is inserted in a water inside a glass cup, which is having a pipe at the bottom of the container. Now, the color is made to enter the horizontal pipe at the bottom of the container in the glass tube, and as the wall of the dye container is opened, the dye enters into the glass tube if the wall of the glass tube is also opened simultaneously. Then the filament of the dye is passing as shown by the dotted line in this Reynolds apparatus. Now, the water from the tank, as it is allowed to flow through the glass tube, the velocity was varied by regulating the valve. At the bottom valve, by opening at different levels, the velocity can be varied, and the liquid dye which passes through the pipe will have the different patterns as shown in the figure. The first one, when the velocity is slow, then laminar flow happens and the dye filament is almost straight. In the second one, the velocity when it is increases, there is a transition region, there is a wavy filament dye that passes through the glass tube. The third one, if the Reynolds number reaches more than 4000 by adjusting the velocity, then the turbulent flow happens and the diffused filament can be observed in the glass tube. So the same thing is explained here. Now we will study what is Reynolds number. Reynolds number is nothing but it is rho Vd by mu. That is the ratio of inertia force by viscous force, where V is average velocity in meter per second. D is a characteristic length of the geometry in meter, and nu is equal to mu by rho. P is equal to kinematic viscosity of the fluid in meter square per second. Now, at large Reynolds number, inertia forces are proportional to the density and the square of the fluid velocity are large respective to the viscous force, and the viscous force cannot prevent the random and the rapid fluctuations of the fluid. At small or moderate numbers, however, the viscous forces are large enough to suppress these fluctuations and to keep fluid in line. Thus, the flow is turbulent in first case and the laminar in the second case. The Reynolds number at which the flow becomes turbulent is called critical Reynolds number, and the value of critical Reynolds number is different for different geometries and flow conditions. For internal flow circular pipe, the generally accepted value of critical Reynolds number is 2300. And the hydraulic diameter and Reynolds number, which is based on this diameter for non-circular pipes, is DH is equal to 4 AC by P, where AC is area of cross section of the pipe in meter square and P is wetted perimeter in meter. Or else DH is equal to 4 AC by PP, rearranging this equation I am writing as AC is equal to 4 DC, pi DC square by pi d square by 4. 4 will get cancels, d will get cancels, and pi also get cancels in the numerator and denominator. Finally, for circular pipes, hydraulic diameter will be equal to the diameter of the particular pipe. Generally, flow in circular pipe will have the laminar nature if the Reynolds number is approximately less than or equal to 2300, turbulent for Reynolds number approximately greater than or equal to 4000, and transition in between that region. Therefore, 2300 less than or equal to Reynolds number is laminar flow. In the range of 2300 to 4000, it is a transitional flow. If Reynolds number is greater than 4000, it is turbulent flow. Now, we shall discuss the entrance flow and the developed flow. Now, you have to consider a circular pipe as shown in the below figure, and there is no slip condition, and the fluid particles in the layer in contact with the wall of the pipe come to complete stop. This layer also causes fluid particles in the adjacent layer to slow down gradually as a result of friction. And to make up for this velocity reduction, the velocity of the fluid at the midsection of the pipe has to increase to keep the mass flow rate through the pipe constant. As a result, the velocity gradient develops along the pipe. So now this is the velocity gradient, as you can see the figure. At the wall it is less, and towards the center it is more because it has to maintain the flow. Now, wherever viscosity are felt, that is called as velocity boundary layer in a pipe flow. In the region of flow where the effects of viscous forces are caused, the hypothetical boundary surface divides the flow in a pipe into two regions: boundary layer region, in which the viscous effects and the velocity changes are significant, and the irrotational core flow region, in which the frictional effects are negligible and the velocity remains essentially constant in the radial direction. Now you can see that the first region is core region, where there is a irrotational flow region, there is no rotation. Second one is velocity boundary layer is gradually developing. Third one is developed or developing velocity profile. Fourth one is partially developed velocity profile, and last one is fully developed velocity profile. From the irrotational core flow region to the fully developed velocity profile region, it is called as hydrodynamic entry region. And after this hydrodynamic entry region, where the fully developed velocity profile passes, is called as hydrodynamically fully developed region. Now, for hydrodynamically fully developed region, du by dx at Rx is equal to 0, where u is a function of velocity, which depends upon the radius and x direction. In the fully developed flow region of a pipe, the wall shear stress is highest at the pipe. You can see here at the pipe wall, where the thickness of the boundary layer is smallest. See, the thickness of the boundary layer is smallest. And at the center, there is a fully developed value of the velocity, and you can see the velocity profile or velocity value maximum at the center, and therefore the pressure drop is higher in the entrance regions of the pipe, and the effects of entrance region is always to increase the average friction factor for the entire pipe. This increase may be significant for short pipes but negligible for long pipes. Mathematically, hydrodynamic entry length can be approximated as LH laminar by D is equal to 0.05 times of Reynolds number, where Reynolds number, if it is 20, the hydrodynamic entry length is about the size of the diameter but increases linearly with velocity. In the limiting laminar case of Reynolds number 2300, the hydrodynamic entry length is 115 D. So these are the values obtained from the experiment. Now this is the figure which shows the variation of wall shear stress in the flow direction for the flow in a pipe. Now you see that velocity boundary layer line is like this, okay, and this region up to the dotted line is fully developed region. At the wall there is a shear stress tau W, and at the center there is a V average velocity of the fluid. In the turbulent flow, the intense mixing happens during the random fluctuations, and it usually overshadows the effect of molecular diffusion. And the non-dimensional hydrodynamic entry length for turbulent flow is approximated as follows. That is LH turbulent by D is equal to 1.359 Reynolds number to the power of 1/4. So these are the results obtained from many experiments in this field by many pioneers, and they have suggested these equations. The entry length is much shorter in a turbulent flow as expected, and its dependence on the Reynolds number is weaker. In many pipe flow of practical engineering interest, the entrance effects become significant beyond a pipe length of 10 diameter, and non-dimensional hydrodynamic entry length is approximated as LH turbulent by D approximately equal to 10. Now, precise correlation for calculating the frictional losses in the entrance region are available in the literature. However, the pipes are used in practice are usually several times the length of the entrance region, and thus the flow through the pipes is often assumed to be fully developed for entire length of the pipe. We generally use large length pipes, therefore we neglect that hydrodynamic entry length, and we consider the pipe as fully developed pipe region. This is a simplest approach. Reasonable results gives the reasonable results for long pipes, but sometimes poor results for the short one. And for practical applications, we generally do not use many of the short pipes. So that is only the theory on that you have to go through. This is nothing but the definition of laminar and turbulent flow, as well as the hydrodynamic entry length, velocity boundary layer. So in this syllabus, you have been told to study continuity equation, only expression, not the derivation, and also Navier-Stokes equation, only the expression, not the derivation. We have also already studied the continuity equation, but again, in this chapter, it is given continuity equation in a Cartesian coordinate form is given by the equation 3.8, where d rho by dt plus d by dx of rho u plus d by dy of rho v plus d by dz of rho w is equal to 0. Or this is the expanded form in the equation 3.9. This equation is applicable to steady and unsteady flow, uniform and non-uniform flow, compressible and incompressible flow. The next one is Navier-Stokes equation. This is only for the purpose of illustration. There is no derivation. Navier-Stokes equation is follows like this. In this equation of motion, it consists of gravity force, pressure force, viscous force as follows, where dV by dt plus V dot Laplacian operator V is equal to minus dP by rho plus nu Laplacian operator square V plus G, where V is a fluid velocity vector, P is pressure, fluid pressure, density of the fluid is rho, kinematic viscosity of the fluid is nu, delta square is Laplacian operator. So now this equation, when it is multiplied with rho, we will get the following equation. And this is the final form of Navier-Stokes equation, where V is a resultant velocity with the components ux, uy, uz, and u, v, w are vectors in the equation, and they are explained by the equations 3.11, 3.12, and 3.13. Note that the gravity has been accounted for a boundary force, and value of gx, dy, gz will depend on orientation of the gravity with respect to the chosen set of coordinates, where rho gx, rho gy, and rho gy, gz can be replaced by forces fx, fy, fz, which are boundary forces per unit volume in x, y, z directions. So as I told you, there is no derivation for the Navier-Stokes equation, only illustration is given in your syllabus. So with this, I will conclude today's class and continue the next class with a new topic of fluid viscous, flow of viscous fluid between two parallel plates. So thank you. Go through the video several times until you understand. Thank you very much.